am so happy to be here with Jacquie Verbal. I am so in awe of you since I came to Substack in November of last year. And I'm like, wow, this is a powerful, powerful sister here with a powerful message. And please introduce yourself, Jacquie.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. So yeah, my name is Jacquie Verbal. That's not a pen name. That's my birth name. Jacqueline is my birth name. That's something that I found to be a fun fact that people didn't know. So I've been on Substack since February of 2024. And in that process, I have published my own book and I have started a community for Black writers here on Substack, a little corner carved out for us that's called Black Stack. And so from there, I've published a magazine and I've published over 70 Black writers and creators through that. So now we are operating as a nonprofit print publication. So, in a nutshell, that is who Jacquie Verbal is today, because we have different versions of ourselves.
No doubt. So talk to us, Jacquie, about your other publication, Chronicles of Change.
Yeah, Chronicles of Change is my baby. That is the publication where I've been able over these, it's going on 2 years now, but I've been able to just document my life and document every single part of my life that I've had to pivot. So whenever I started my journey leaving North Carolina, coming to California, the pivot process was something that I really, really struggled with so bad. And I found that writing was the only way for me to identify that I was in a moment of pivoting. And so I had to learn how to embrace the change that I would have to make as a person in order to navigate that pivot. Because you can't be the same person you was in the beginning when you're trying to make changes and pivot. You have to change. And so I didn't want to keep a paper journal or a paper diary because I was traveling. This was during a period where I was what some would consider unhoused. So I didn't have a permanent address and we were living Airbnbs and like RVs and what do you call those vans that they turn into like a living space, a converter van, I believe. Um, so this was a period where I was like down
Okay.
and the internet was like where I wanted to hold everything because on my journey, I realized that there's so many people that show the pretty parts of the journey, but they never show the parts where you have to actually make it through. They always
Mm.
show once they've broke through. And so I was like, I need to document this because there has to be somebody going through this. And that's how we got here. I just been documenting this whole process.
That's amazing. So, can you talk to us about your earlier journey before your before writing?
Yeah. So uh, before writing, I was very deep into a spiritual journey. So I was what I like to consider now on a self discovery journey. I was really focused on being a better person. So my environment raised me to believe that I was the problem. And so I thought that there was something wrong with me and that I needed to figure out what was wrong with me. Well, on that journey, I found out it wasn't too much wrong with me. It was a lot of conditioning that I had been raised with, and that conditioning benefited certain people. And so once I decided that I wanted to see what life would look like me living for me and not aspiring to be this person because that's what my parents wanted me to be, um, that started making me realize that, wow, this journey is actually really tough, but I can make it through it. And so I began, I remember going through a period where I was just so deep in it that I was like, I'm going to do anything and everything I can to like fix me. And so in that process, I was working as a assistant property manager at an apartment complex. And I remember having a move in one morning and I had to go to the hospital. I had to go to the ER instead of going to work because I was having an anxiety attack when I was driving, but I didn't know that's what it was. I just was like, my chest feels like it's caving in. I like was like, I can't. And so I remember getting to the hospital and the doctor asking me questions, and I was like, all I could talk about was the stress of my work. And she was like, "Ooh, sweetie, we need to pull you out." And I was like, "No, I can't. Like, they don't know how to do this, and they don't, and I have to, and my job is." And it was just very apparent to both of us in that moment that I had put pretty much all of my life into working this job. And I was working this job because that's what I thought my family wanted to do. That's like they liked that version of me. They liked how I was living my life. So I had to remain that person. And so the doctor ended up pulling me out of work. And the day that I sent in my note from the doctor, that next day they fired me. And so they fired me for failing a drug test that I had taken a month ago. um, just for smoking, not nothing crazy. So I knew in that moment that that was spirit. Like spirit was clearly pivoting me, going back to that pivot. So in that during that time, that's when I really and just dove deep into the journey of myself. So I became a Reiki master. I learned how to, you know, use my gifts through divination. And I started a business doing that. So I was um I was going by a pen name at that time of the name Trap because I was focused on getting Black people to wake up to what we had been suppressed from for so long. And I realized that the suppression was more of a spiritual thing than a physical thing. And so that was what I spent the first 4 years of 2020. So, yeah, before I started writing, that was a 4 year span. That's all I was doing was deep into the spiritual journey, deep into understanding what I could control about me to fit and what I needed to embrace about me. So, in a nutshell, I'm gonna give you nutshells because I've had so many different versions of me, and I'm sure so many of us can relate to that. But um, even while I was doing the spiritual work, I was managing artists, um, rappers, Black guys that was rapping and doing Reiki on them and helping them advance their music. So I've always had my hands in different stuff that's related to the culture, but I've always done it from a very unique standpoint. So bringing me into who I am today, it kind of is like everything happened for a reason. So Chronicles of Change is, that documentation.
I
Would
love
you?
that.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that.
That is your evolution, okay, from where you came from to where you are now. And that is a signature for people coming behind you to follow, okay?
Mm, I never thought of it that way. But if it's paving a path, then I love it. I ain't gonna fight it.
When you talk about the support that you provide for all the African American um, writers, I can empathize growing up, being born in the 1960s, okay, during the civil rights movement, and what we had to encounter to get to where we are today is because of the sacrifices that our ancestors made so we can have the privileges that we have today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So um, when you first start at Substack, we're starting at zero. And it's like you feel all your work is going in a deep, dark hole and nobody's listening. However, that is not true. There's a lot of people out there listening and reading our work. Okay. The only thing is, you know, we like to hear from people that, hey, we appreciate your work and what you do because of the impact that we're making. Okay. Because growing up, that impact was not recognized. We were not valued. Okay. We were ignored. We were considered less than, not just by, you know, uh, sometimes our own family, but our workplaces. And that's why we decided to walk away, because as much as we tried to give, it was never enough. Okay. Which, when one door closes, another opens. And it allows us now to utilize our gift in the ways that feels genuine. Okay. That is valued. And so I applaud you for that. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, it does, especially I like to call it I dream out loud. And that is very hard because while you have people that are cheering you on, you also have people that are kind of like, I hope her ass, you know. And you don't know that there's people actually thinking that because everybody is excited and cheering you on. And sometimes those people are cheering you on too. So the dreaming out loud part has been what I feel is spirit's gift to me and kind of like my soul mission that I have to show people and inspire people to see that no, you can dream and you can dream big. And it's gonna work out for you in ways that you might not have even imagined, mainly because you stayed a course. It's not because you did the right thing at the right time or made the right move. It was because you followed your intuition and that intuition led you somewhere. And so that's one of the biggest takeaways that I, kind of hope that I inspire people to understand that the spiritual journey and the journey itself, this isn't this isn't me calculating my moves. This is truly me having to feel my way through this thing. And the only way to get through it is to actually go through it. So you can't look at it and be like, oh, those bushes look really prickly. I might get cut up. You just got to trust that you can get through it. You just got to trust that you can get through it. But I want to thank y'all. I see y'all in the comments. Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all.
We can take a minute out here and I'll check out the comments. Let's see. I'll start up here. I'm gonna start at the top. Joy said good morning. Let's see. Rhea said to touch so many heartbrains. Okay. Let's see. Lamar said catching it. Love when things align.
Hmm.
Ashley says we support you. She said we love you guys. Let's see.
Stephanie just said we are the examples coming for the ones coming behind us, and I couldn't agree with that more.
Reverend Evelyn says good morning. Let's see.
Hey Ashley, girl.
Stephanie say Jacquie in the building.
I told you I don't do talking lives. I'm always on here trying to like be productive. So
Okay.
this is a fun little break. We could call it the
Uh,
braid. Hey,
Dr.
Tay.
Evelyn said Jackie also has a spiritual strength. The ancestors are with her in a mighty way for sure.
Hmm. Thank you so
Mhm.
much for that. I agree.
Stephanie said, shout out to the haters that are cheering us on. LOL.
Yes. They
Brad,
don't even realize it's love too. It helps push us. So yeah, I love
yeah,
that.
I agree. But one thing I have to say, I am intuitive and an empath. I can tell because I get these negative feelings. And so it'll tell me that person doesn't mean me any good. Okay. So I just, sometimes they say, keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer. Yeah. Because as we know, most regimes go down on the inside. So,
Yeah.
so you can utilize that person, to send your message out, whatever. They have a role too to play.
Yeah, I like that.
Works for the military. Okay.
Ah, yeah. Everybody got a role.
Absolutely. Even if that's exiting out the door.
Mhm.
So this is about you. So I really appreciate that you give Black writers an opportunity. It reminds me of the Renaissance, Harlem Renaissance.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. I it wasn't until this year that someone pointed that out to me. They were like, "Oh, you're like the new Renaissance." And I was like, "That is a pretty big task." But when I sat back and really thought about it, I was like, "Wow, it is." Um, this was not, well, let me put it this way. This was all by design, but not my design. So, exactly. Sometimes we have life missions that we don't even know that we're going to be a part of. I'll tell you a quick story how I even thought about bookbinding. There was this there's this white man that used to come to the coffee shop that I worked at all the time. And I was in college. I'll never forget. And he used to bind these books, and he used to just sit there and hand stow these books. And he always come in with his briefcase. He had this real long ponytail. So he was the type of person we were living in the 2000s, but he looked like he came out of the 1800s. So he was the type of person that you're going to look at him and you're going to remember him. So he used to come in all the time. Now you take his order, we have conversation. So a few years later, I'm out of college and I live downtown in my hometown, Greensboro. And so there's this coffee shop that we all, and I say we all because it's like everybody in the city kind of went to that coffee shop. And he was there, still
Mhm.
binding books. And again, this is a person that you're not really going to forget because of his aesthetic. So I go up to him and I was like, "I don't know if you remember me." And he's like, "Jackie, where you been?" And I'm like, "Yes, you remember me." I was like, "Teach me how to do what you're doing." Because I haven't seen nobody do this. I don't even know what it's called. And he was like, "It's called bookbinding." And so he pointed to the chair and I sat down. And so every day after I used to take my daughter to school, I would go to the coffee shop. I would sit there with him and I would work on my stuff. And then when he needed help, he would teach me the basics of bookbinding. So now coming back to where I'm at now in California, I sent the first draft of the magazine to Amazon to publish. And I was just really unhappy with the way that it came out. For how much energy and time I put into it, I was like, this just doesn't feel right in my spirit. And then my mind went to, you can make this book. You know how to do this. And I was like, oh, can I? Can I? And so I did a little bit of research and I realized that I could. So fast forward, the community was behind me. So we decided to invest in equipment rather than make a one-time investment in books and then we have to do it again. At least now I have the equipment so I can print as many books as I need to for Black writers. So my mentor from where I am from, Greensboro, North Carolina, she and we talk all the time. I call her my mentor and she was like, "Girl, you need to call me your friend because I don't mentor you. You're the mentor." So I told her about what I was doing with the book binding and I sent her pictures and she saw him and she told him and he was like very, very proud because he it he could understand why I was doing it for the mission that I'm doing it because he was doing it for the same reason, but not he was doing it for his students. He didn't want his students to have to pay for his book. So he made his books for his students that he taught. I know, isn't that just so special? So
Yes.
that story has always stuck with me. So that I never really got to share why I wanted to bind our books, but it is for me a true act of ownership. So the Harlem Renaissance, a lot of their stuff was published through sponsors. They had sponsors that were not Black that controlled what they could publish. And now we don't have that in 2025, and I just love that for us. So this is why I do it. That's the connection to the Harlem Renaissance to kind of bring it as a full circle moment. I appreciate it.
Wow, you are very powerful in what you're doing uh, f- for the present and the future generations. Okay, something that your children can come back and look at this and say, "My mom, my grandma paved the way for Black writers." Okay,
Yeah. And my daughter's actually in the magazine as an artist. Yeah, she's in the very last page of the magazine as an artist. So she helps me bind the magazines. So yeah, it's I had to go through these pivots in order for me to see what I'm actually doing and understand the delicacy in what I'm doing. I have to treat this very, very delicate because this isn't my book, you know? It's not my words. This is the words of 70 Black authors. You have to treat that with care. You have to be careful with that because we see so many examples of people not being careful with our words and taking them and twisting them and, doing them every which way. But I just kind of take a little bit of pride in a lot more pride in the fact that there's that many Black writers. There's over 10,000 Black writers on this platform that trust me to submit their words for me to publish. I think that's such a huge deal, and I don't take it lightly.
well, speaking of that, like when I first came to Substack, I wish I had known about you. I would have said, "Hey, here I am. Where do I go?" So, what do these writers, Black writers, how do they submit to you? Whatever requirements to become a part of your publication.
So, that's a really good question because that's something I've been thinking about lately. For one, I realized that I can put it at the bottom of every newsletter, but people still don't see it, you know? So, one way that I've realized that I actually have been curating a lot of the newsletters, I do kind of like reach out to people. There's a couple of people that I've reached out to recently that I've been like, hey, Black Stack really needs this. I think that you'd be a great person to submit some stuff or have a column or whatever. And usually I see that people are very honored by me approaching them because they're shocked that I see them, which is interesting because that's how Black Stack started. I be looking at everything. I
Mm.
I be reading people's stuff. I'm everywhere on Substack for the most part, and that's on purpose. I do that very intentionally. I schedule Substack time for me to treat it like social media. So, one way is more than likely you're on my list to reach out to. Two, a lot of stuff starts in the DMs. That song, It Goes Down in the DM. That is so
Hey.
funny. It's so funny because it's so true. In the Black Stat chat, that is where all of the newsletters have ever been birthed. Every single one of them has been birthed in the chat because I will ask the community and the community will respond. So I will say one of the main ways to submit to Black Stack is to be involved in the community. Because if you're involved in what I'm doing, if you're involved and you're engaging, then you're going to see every single time I post the opportunity. And then that's how people get the opportunity. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna either reach out to you because you're on my list and I see that you're not gonna reach out, or if I haven't posted the opportunity, or by design, the opportunity is gonna present itself and you're gonna have like the perfect way in. I have right now open submissions through the rest of the year, but like I said, I could put it at the bottom of every newsletter and people still don't see it. So I think that's one of the challenges with social media in general. You kind of have to put it in people's face a million times. They say seven, but I think it's a million.
Well, they say you can't see the forest for the trees. It's something right in front of you, a gift right there, and you don't even see it.
Oh, that is such a you can't see a forest for the trees. That is such a good one. I have to look that up to see that saying. I've never heard that before. I like that.
Yeah, I remember all my mom's sayings, and they were true. Okay.
Mhm.
So that's for sure. And all of these things are good to know because, like I said, once I first came to Substack, didn't know nothing, you know, I come to you, boom. And there we go. It's all about community. Now, you talked about community. I know you be having your productivity hour and you have a highly engaged community. And it's like, dang, I wonder how she do that. I'm good at, I'm really good at notes, but how can I translate that to my own community?
Mhm. Um, you know, I just posted this yesterday in a note. The best way to build community is by allowing the community to build with you. So, for example, Black Stack has been a community project that I built with the community. So I kind of put out a call of action. And when everybody was like, yes, where do I sign up? I made the account. I didn't I didn't offer the community something that they weren't already asking for. I just created the space that they needed. And so one way that I will say is to make sure that you're observing the things that everyone's talking about needing or wanting or longing for. And 9 times out of 10, it's something that you're longing for as well. And so once you kind of genuinely talk about it, people are going to respond. And once you get that response, then you go ahead and follow through with the action. Now, how I've been able to kind of shape everything into this really pretty flow that you see, this was curated over time. I didn't come to it knowing, oh, we're going to be doing productivity hours and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. This has literally been, I see the need for it in the community. It's something that I need. I put it out there and people respond. Productivity hour was an idea, and we never expected for it to go this long. We tried it one time, and everybody was like, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I need this. And then the days kind of switched because my lifestyle switched a little bit. So now we do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. When I don't do productivity hour, I struggle in my work week because I'm not as productive. It's something about being in community that really fuels me. Community is such a huge part of who I am. So I see that Stephanie had asked about building community offline. Once you have that online community, excuse me, it's a little bit easier to build that community in real life. But if you don't have that online community, I would say going and being a familiar face in the spaces that you want to be in community at. So sometimes we don't have to have the brick and mortar. There's several places here in Oakland where I'm a familiar face. So that is community for me. Now, some of those familiar spaces I've had to remove myself because I understand that they're not in alignment with the same mission and goals that I have. So, for example, my favorite coffee shop that has now shifted to a Black owned coffee shop. And while the Black owned coffee shop is not closer to my house, it's not about the convenience anymore. It's about the alignment. So, with this alignment, by me becoming a familiar face there, hey, owners, let's talk about having a writing club here. Can we meet here? Can we do this here? And then you have spaces that you can have like minded people and build that community. And so then you just kind of put it out on the internet because the algorithm is going to let locals find you. And then they show up, and that's how that builds. I would say I have a larger community in Oakland than I have in my hometown, which says a lot. That says a lot. So I don't know if I fully answered the question. There is no 1, 2, 3 step. It's more of kind of like what you were saying earlier. You feel it and then you see it. Um, I'm just now getting to a point of realizing the presence that I have on this platform because I've been so deep in it. Hitting 10K was kind of like, oh, it worked. Like you're not still executing the idea. The idea worked. And so you kind of got to treat community like that. You have to, there's a piece that we just published on Black Stack Sunday and was talking about this very thing. Community is labor. This is labor. This is work. Making these magazines, this is work. This is labor. There's steps, there's a cover, and then you have the text, and then you have to put it together. So with the newsletter, I have to get the submissions, I have to curate it, I have to publish it, I have to work the piece, because if I don't work the piece, then the piece is stagnant. People don't know that it's been published until I let them know that it's been published. So whenever I think about community, I tell people all the time, Black Stack is my employer. I work for Black Stack. So when people call me the leader and all that stuff, it kind of makes me like cringe because I'm like, no. If anything, y'all sign my paychecks. And I'm not even getting paid from Black Stack yet. So that's why I make the Zooms and stuff like that so I can make a revenue. But right now, I can honestly say that every single thing that I do for Black Stack, I treat it like work because this is my sole mission. And so because I treat it as such, I can't take it lightly, you know. I can't show up. I can't show up half-assed. I have to put my all in it, you know.
Absolutely. And just looking at your transformation, from the past up to now, everything was leading you to this point. All
Mhm.
the skills, all the people, everything.
Yep. That is so true. Um, which is kind of what Chronicles of Change has embodied. It has embodied all of my pivots and shifts so people can see. Like, if someone really wanted to track my past year, you would see that I manifested living at the beach. And I manifested that because I was homeless, living in a Airbnb that I could afford for a month. And in that Airbnb, it was at the beach. But I wasn't at the beach because I wanted it to be luxury. I was at the beach because my mom kicked me out because she was like, I can't do this gay shit. Her words exactly. Me, my now wife, and my daughter, we had just left the farm because the white farmer told me that I wasn't there for pleasure. I was there to work. But that's not why I was there. I was there for an experience. So I had to pack up and leave because I refused to be a slave in 2024. This is then, or 2023. So I left the farm. My mom agreed for us to stay there for just 3 weeks. By week 2, she was kicking us out. So the beach was the cheapest place from North Carolina. Myrtle Beach was the cheapest place that I could find an Airbnb for 30 days. That was not a moment that I was looking at and thinking, yeah, a year from now, I'm going to be living at the beach making books. Hell no. I was praying that in the next 30 days, I had enough money to figure out what the hell I was going to do and where we were going to go. So I say that to say Chronicles of Change has literally been like almost like my personal blueprint. I have to go back and read stuff. I have to go back and listen to the first time I ever wrote a poem and how my voice was cracking as I did a audio voiceover reading that poem, and it's titled Longing for Home. That was a feeling, you know what I mean? That was the emotion that I was feeling. And I have to go back sometimes and read that poem so I can have gratitude for where I'm at now, because now I'm in another place where I'm like, come on, I feel myself having to pivot again. I don't want to do this shit. But I go back and I remind myself of, but you could be here and you made it out. So don't have that mindset about it. Let's change our mindset and let's co create this next version of whatever life has for us. Because one thing I've realized is life is going to do its thing regardless of how successful you may view yourself. When my dad died, that was at the peak of what I thought Black Stack was. Today, I realized it wasn't. It wasn't. We've gone through so many changes since then. And, it's just one of those things where I this is why I am such an advocate, and people probably know this about me, but I'm always encouraging someone to be vulnerable in your writing because it's not for people to be nosy, you know? Yeah, you may run into that, but if you're doing it from a genuine place, you have to know you're going to be protected. You have to know that you're divinely protected. So when you're sharing your experiences, you're sharing them to document your own life. All of the books that we have now of our ancestors is because they documented their life. They weren't doing this with the mindset of they were going to be a legend. You only become, and I'm not saying this because it's true. I'm saying it because this is what we see. But you only become a legend once you're dead. So you have to document your life in the now, whether you know that you're going to be a legend or not. But your kids deserve to know how you made it out of certain situations that they can't ask you about once you're gone. You know, I wish that my dad had a journal that could just keep. I wish that there was something in writing besides all of the oral conversations that we had. Because, you can't play those back, only in your mind. So I'm an avid person of document your experiences, document your story, because you, your offspring, the people that come behind us, they need it. They need it more than anything. So yeah, that's my little preaching moment about it.
I love it. So Jackie, where do you see yourself going? With the world the way it is right now.
Oh.
Eh,
Well, I see myself playing a major role in the revolution. Yeah. I definitely see me being one of the people on the front line trailblazing it. Um, and it's not because I want to. It's not because I want to. It is because the shit pisses me off that bad. And excuse my language, but that is just truly how angry I am with the state of the world. Um, and I've always been like this. I was like this his first election. Um, I was like this 9/11 when I was in the 5th grade. I've always been like this. Um, I am currently fighting with spirit because I want it to be more than books. I want it to be more than words. I want to I want to organize and do something that will really impact us for years to come, for generations and centuries to come. I don't want a band-aid fix. And yeah, so right now I have this residency, this study hall residency, and this is my way of trying to do as much research and study on the past so I can kind of see where the loopholes are for today. So yeah, I see me not necessarily leading the revolution, but I definitely see me on the ground in the community doing something when it comes to the revolution. Because I can't just sit back.
Okay, so what we're looking at is grassroots.
Yes, very much. Very much.
Okay.
The publishing part, that is, so by Black Site being a nonprofit print publishing house, that is to avoid banning our books. So there's a very strategic kind of like way that I'm going about it to make sure that we are protected in all aspects. And I mean all aspects. So if there comes a time where, the internet's not safe to communicate, okay, I have mailing addresses. I can send information out through this print publication. I can get the message out. So I'm in Oakland. Uh Marcus Books is the exact place that the Black Panthers were getting their newspapers printed. And they want the magazine to sit on the shelves. They're waiting on me to drop off some books. So Spirit knew Spirit knew that I would follow and I wouldn't question and I would just do the work. Um I just didn't know that this is what the work was going to entail. So I'm trusting that I'm protected, um, because I do think that as much as I would like to believe that I'm not on a radar yet, I believe that I am. I believe that I've already made an impact, and I'm just late on seeing the impact that I'm making, if that makes sense.
It really does. It really does. We don't realize our own strength and our own capacity until other people bring it to our attention. Oh, really?
Yeah, that's so true. Stephanie, I'll see if I can't get you a t-shirt. I think they have t-shirts there.
But yeah, let's see. We have some more comments here. Wow. Does Marcus Books have any t-shirts? She said she wanted one. That's Stephanie. Okay. Brandon, you're not the only one. Um, Rachel T. We're minding our black owned businesses, literally. When she talks about that, that reminds me back in the day in was it Oklahoma where they had Black Wall Street and how it was
Mhm.
how what happened down there was devastating.
Yeah, they actually had a Black Wall Street like that in Wilmington, North Carolina, where yeah, they had one in Wilmington, North Carolina and in Durham, North Carolina. And um one of the things that I'm focused on with the research right now is how we can build another one but protect it. I think that's the main thing. Because and this is just my intuitive beliefs, I believe that our ancestors just didn't, I don't think that they even thought that that would be a result, you know? Because who that is focused on improving and being better and becoming one as a people, who's thinking that someone's going to come and burn everything to the ground? No one's thinking that. No one's thinking that. But there are a group of people that are. So because
And
we're
we know
aware
that.
of that, yes, and so because we're aware of it, we don't have to be blind to it. We can prepare for it. So, uh, yeah, I love that. I love that.
Working for the government for 39 years, okay? Trust nothing. Okay? Question everything and everybody. Okay? Because
Yeah.
they'll mention somebody's name you know. That don't mean nothing. Who are you? It could be sent from the opposition, like we see, with the Black Panthers. The government they send in and informing somebody that they can get close enough to get all the information and take them down from the inside. We know that history repeats itself, so we we have to put all these safeguards in place and have all these contingency plans in place. So if we have to make a move quickly, we can do that. We can also
Mhm.
look at Harriet Tubman and all the other warriors throughout history and see how they moved and see how they use nonviolent resistance and other tactics to be successful. Okay?
Yes. Yes. Stephanie, just DM me. Um, I'll I'll get you a link or something. I closed the fundraiser down, but if there's somebody that wants one, then I'll do some special orders.
Okay. All right then. Um, so is there anything else in particular, Jackie, that you would like to talk about?
Um, no, we touched on my journey, which is the part that I haven't really talked about before. Um, no, don't worry about it, Stephanie. You're fine. And yeah, right now I'm just in a place of realizing realizing the baton that's been passed to me, honestly. And so I'm just kind of like, oh, okay. Well, now that I know that we're running a race in a war, let me gear up. So I think I'm in my gear up stage.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, I served my time, okay? I made all my sacrifices. So I'm at the stage now that I'm going to give all you young people the resources and tools that you need that I know about, okay? So you can go out there and fight the fight, okay? and I will advise you accordingly.
Yes, I love that. I love that. We need more from your generation to help us, because your generation's a very unique one because you've been able to see both sides of this thing. You've been able to see the oppressed side, and then you've been able to see the side where it was improvement, you know? And so now you get to see it almost reversing back. And so where you came into life is almost where we're at now. So you have a very unique eye for what's happening that I think that um, my generation, the younger generations, and your generation, we could definitely learn a lot from each other right now if we would all come together. So I think conversations like this are going to be important.
Absolutely. That's why I love them. Okay. Bringing everybody together. I don't care if you're green, black, purple, blue. As long as long as you're a like-minded individual, let's go. Let's work together. We can accomplish more working together than working separately or that's the problem. Everybody want to do their own thing. Okay. That time frame, that's gone. Okay. So now we got to come together for the bigger cause. Okay, look at the big picture. Everything is at stake. Okay,
Yeah. A book that we're reading for my book club right now is called Urugu. And in that book, they talk about the five empires, how the five empires, if we came together, how we could actually um, reverse some of this frame of reference that we've been living under and domination for so long. So I think that there is a time where the key word is like mind, like
exactly. If you're not, then go somewhere else because you're pulling my energy down, and I ain't got time for that. Okay,
yeah. Yes, Joy. I'm definitely gonna make me some collard greens this week. Bring a big pot of collard greens to the function. I think having dinner and conversation over dinner. I sat at my dinner table for this conversation, so I think that's gonna be a key part of the journey. Bringing people in, feeding people, not just with the words, but with the food. Um, because then you'll really be able to know who's on your side.
absolutely. I'm so glad you mentioned that because uh, having been ostracized by my family, okay, because my father decided to have a affair outside of his marriage, a Baptist minister, okay. So I told people in the notes that for the day before Thanksgiving, we can have dinner together. Okay. So I don't have to eat alone and they don't have to eat alone. Okay. And
Yeah,
that's how we create this community because people are hurting. People are looking for connection. And so that's our role. Okay. That's our role.
yeah. It's funny. I have posted that too. I was like, I just want to cook y'all dinner and we just read books and study together. I think that would just be a grand old time. I'm gonna make sure
Absolutely.
I bring some collard greens. I love
You
collard
gonna
greens.
you gonna have some candy yams? I'll be over there.
Yeah. Yes, I love it. Y'all are hilarious.
Okay.
This was so
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
maybe one day next year, I think a lot of us substackers, we should just meet in person and just have a grand old time. Okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've in February of this year I hosted a dinner in Brooklyn. And so it was about 25 of us that got together from Black Stack. And then I've hosted a couple of in-person writing workshops or writing days. So I am just stay on the lookout. I know we have one in London that we're planning right now. So there are some more in-person community events. I'll be at Marcus Bookstore this weekend, doing some stuff with them. So, yes, bringing community back together is in person is definitely one of my top priorities for next year.
Awesome. Well, Jackie, let me know how I support you. I support you in recommendations, because that's another thing people need to understand. Like-minded people, we recommend each other, and that's how we grow. I can't tell you how many subscribers I get just from recommendations alone.
Mm,
Okay?
yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
powerful.
hope that yeah, I hope that I do a lot of recommendations on Black Site. I give them out like candy over there. And I wonder, I'm gonna look at the numbers to see if that's been helping people. But yeah, that is like one of the key points of Black Stack is making sure that that's why I do the Black Reads newsletter to spotlight Black writers so that way we can find each other and support each other. So, yes, I love that. This was such a good, fun conversation. I know my, I know my gang. They're gonna be like, "Okay, Jackie, when we having the next just regular talk?"
See what you started?
I know. No, you started this.
It's all good. I want to thank you, and you let me know how I can support the effort. I'm not going to be on the front lines, okay? But I will support, okay?
You can give us some strategies. I appreciate.
I got you. I'm there, okay? Yeah. Thank
This
you
is
so much.
fun. Thank
I
you.
want I want to see if anybody what else is said here. Like the Oprah effect, the Jackie effect. Okay, we'll take it. Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, thank y'all for coming through. It's a few of the productivity hour people in here.
Okay. I feel very productive today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, for real.
Mhm.
Um, oh, I need that book. Also, Love, again, Love, Margaret's Hands, Gestures. They are bringing me so much joy. Yeah, that's me. Okay.
Definitely funny.
Okay. Thank you
Look,
all
I got
so
all my
much.
glasses.
Okay.
Yeah, this
Thank
was
you all.
fun.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Yes, it was a blast. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And thank you all for coming. Thank you so much. All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Love y'all.
Bye. Bye.